Live.
Live.
Welcome back to By the Book Baseball, episode 2. So I almost said pull the pin.
Well, it's fair enough.
How's it going, Matt? Long time no see.
Yeah, right. How's your water bottle doing?
Still trying to hydrate from Friday.
Same here, buddy.
It
I think
is
Tommy's the only one
Monday.
not hurting. I think Tommy's the only one not hurting.
He is a machine, and
Oh
he's
my god.
more than happy to tell us that regularly. So last week we went through and we did kind of this first ballot idea that we had for our new Hall of Fame. And then we kind of revised it a little bit. So I think this is the format we'll go with. We'll pick a lineup every week to put into the Hall of Fame until it gets to the point where all of a sudden we're looking at guys and going, can't fill every position. Right?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna run out of players.
Yeah, because I just like David Ortiz is never going to be in this Hall of Fame.
No.
I mean, well, I'm not going to say never, but it would be a stretch. We'd be spreading ourselves a bit thin at that point, I think.
We'd be spreading ourselves thin, and if you're about to look me in the face and tell me that we're not putting Gary Sheffield in over Ortiz, then we got problems.
Right, and that's when you're starting to get into that situation where, like, okay,
that's the borderline.
Are we actually, who's actually a Hall of Famer and who's not? Right. I think we're able to agree with that, right?
Yeah, and it's one of those things where are we just going to do you had a lifetime 500 home runs or more, you're automatically in? No, not going to be that.
Are there numbers like that, though, before we get into this? I mean, 3,000 hits, a pretty big accomplishment, right? Do you have anybody on the 3,000 hit list you're not including?
Not particularly, but like you look at a guy like Omar Vizquel, defensive wizard, but like just played forever. Like I don't.
Right.
There are just certain guys like Harold Baines.
Does he have 3,000 hits?
Vizquel almost. Not actually, but he's close.
My computer is pissing me off.
2877.
Not that he's the guy we're going to talk about tonight, but I'm just curious. I have too many windows open. I was looking at too many players. I mean, no, he's a great defensive shortstop, but a 272 lifetime average, 80 career home runs. The 2877 hits surprised me, but 24 years, right?
Yeah.
So, but still 3,000 is not there. He's not at 3,000. So I don't, he'd be, if we ever do a defensive specialists Hall of Fame, then sure.
Which I'm all in for.
Yep. Maybe that's just
you already know a few of mine.
It's just a different wing we have in the Hall of Fame.
We need a best outfield arms part of the Hall of Fame.
Oh. Well, Vladdy will be right there. All right. So how do you want to start this? We got. You want to start with catchers? I mean, we're consensus.
I figure we just start. Well, we could go by position, like pitcher, like start with starting pitcher, relieving pitcher. We could go just by position, 1 down to 9, and then utility.
Okay. All right.
Oh, you start. You start with your team.
Well, we'll just go back and forth with pitcher, right? So my pitcher is Walter Johnson. I think that's. Why is this doing this?
I mean, you do live in Narnia, so.
Yeah, I know, but my computer, my work computer, is just all of a sudden got a mind of its own. You got Walter Johnson, who had 110 career shutouts, 417 wins. Was the premier pitcher of his day in the early 1900s, pitched up to 1927, career ERA of 2.17, strikeouts 3509, led the league in strikeouts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times. Was an MVP twice before the Cy Young Award existed. The 110 shutouts is just kind of nuts to me.
They didn't call him the big train for nothing.
That's a fact. So he is my starting pitcher. Are we going to talk about the number 2 guy we have on our lists? We
Sure.
both have Maddox.
I think we both have the same guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So Maddox is definitely in 2. So Walter Johnson, Greg Maddox, and then who's your starter?
My starter is Roger Clemens. I'm backtracking on the Cy Young pick on Clemens.
Yeah, I kind of went down a rabbit hole after last week, and I'm glad that we kind of are going to go back and change some things because after going down the rabbit hole, like Cy Young's a great pitcher. He'll definitely probably be in next week. But, after looking at Walter Johnson's stats, it just got me thinking about Walter Johnson. It was just like, wow, like this is kind of nuts that we didn't even bring him up last episode. I was a little disappointed at myself. So
yeah, I get that. I mean, I feel like we did a good bit of research.
Yeah.
And did what we needed to do. But I hear you there.
Sorry, I'm messing with my life around here for a second.
No, you're good.
All right, so that gets us through pitchers. So that's
let's talk about our number 2,
Maddox,
because we both have the same guy.
I mean, there's not much to talk about other than the fact that the guy was just that consistent for that long, won over 300 games and then some. The stat that I think is my favorite about him, and there's 2 stats. One, it was some crazy stat where he went to a 3-0 count, not counting intentional walks, like 111 times in his career, and some ungodly number of innings pitched. And if my computer be a little faster, I'd bring it up. And then his 78 pitch complete game is just something that I think is incredible. Like
it's insane. I went to one O's game this year. Unfortunately, only one, but it was when the Braves played the O's. They were in Baltimore. Max Fried threw one of the more masterful games I've ever seen. 90 pitch complete game, and they had said that I don't think any Atlanta Braves pitcher had thrown a 90 pitch or less complete game since Greg Maddox did it.
Yeah. I mean, you just look at some of the numbers here, 355 and 227. I know we don't put a lot of stock in pitchers' wins because you just never know who they played for.
Right.
3.16 career ERA, and 94 had a 1
again.
Yeah, and he went through a stretch from 92 to 98 where he was below 3 with his ERA. It went 2.18, 2.36, 1.56, 1.63, 2.72, 2.0, or 2.20, and 2.22. I mean, those numbers right there are just absurd. So, innings pitched led the league 5 straight years, 4 Cy Young Awards, Gold Glove.
Yeah, just all over the field. In 2002, he threw 199.1 innings, so 199 in the third innings. If he had thrown 200 and even 200 or more, it would have been 19 straight seasons of 200 or more innings pitched, which is like the crazy benchmark now that nobody ever reaches.
Yep. No, that's a great stat.
Kind of go into the wayside.
I think the other one that I absolutely love is how many walks he had as a pitcher. 999 walks in 5,000 innings.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's silly. 177 of those walks were intentional.
Yep.
That's
absurd. And I still don't think he gets enough love somehow.
He doesn't get enough love because he wasn't sexy, right? Didn't strike guys out,
Right.
I mean, to us, he's Mad Dog's just the best, but to the layman
casual baseball fan,
right? All right, so let's move up to catcher. We're consensus on Johnny Bench. We're not consensus on the backup. You're giving Mike Piazza a whole lot more than I am. He's just a terrible defensive catcher.
Yeah, he was not a good defensive catcher, but I mean, he was so good offensively. It was hard to. I was trying to think of who's the number 2 catcher ever, and I don't want to give like. Okay,
What is your hang up on Pudge?
Like, we're going to talk about PED allegations. Like, is he not one of those guys?
Is Piazza not one of those guys?
They both are. I don't know.
Pudge was better.
I think it's Bench and then the rest. I just was having.
Yeah, I agree with that, but the backup, in my opinion, is Pudge far and away. 311 home runs, career 296 hitter. Just defensively as good as there was. In a couple of years, Yadier Molina is on this list. Well, did he retire this year?
No, he didn't. And I disagree there.
Really?
You're talking sheer defensive wise, yeah. Sure.
Let's see, at the catcher position, I mean, the only thing that makes Bench a better player is he hit home runs.
Piazza had
267,
427, 308, 1335 ribbies, 1050 runs scored.
How many ribbies?
1335.
So he has 3 more than Pudge.
Yeah, he's got him in RBIs, not by much. What was Pudge's lifetime average?
296.
Yeah, Piazza's not a lot, but 308 doesn't have him by a ton. But
yeah, but Piazza couldn't throw the ball.
Yeah,
I mean,
Santiago's got a better arm than he does.
Like the one position that I will look at defense more than any is that position. Like Yadier Molina.
Well, yeah, you got to be able to call a game.
Yeah,
but
Yadier is not taking Bench's credit. Yadier is not taking Bench's spot. I don't mean it that way.
But you think he's number 2?
He's pretty good, man.
He's really good, but I mean, I don't know. I think Buster Posey doesn't get enough credit behind the dish for what he did. Obviously, not long enough career. That's pretty.
He's definitely a guy that's on this list at some point as we move forward. I like Buster Posey a lot.
So,
he's a great player.
If we're just talking about WAR.
I'm not just talking about WAR. I know
you're not just talking about WAR, but if I were to just talk about WAR, Buster Posey had more in 12 years than Yachty does in 18.
What's Buster Posey's WAR?
45, 44 something.
Ivan Rodriguez, 68.7.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying Buster's on that list. He didn't play long enough.
Right.
That's not the argument. I'm just saying from just like if a guy would rather have on my team perspective, it was Buster in his day.
Over Yachty or over Pudge?
Over Yachty. Okay. Maybe even over Pudge. Like if you give me prime Posey, like I don't know. That's a tough discussion there too.
Where's Joe Mauer fall into the conversation?
I don't know. He didn't catch for quite as long as some of these guys, and I mean, really good hitter, like just a good pure hitter.
He's a really good defensive catcher before he got hurt.
Was that what it was? Was it injury?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he got busted up, like catching
as most guys do. Yeah.
Right. I mean, but he was a very good defensive catcher for a number of years. Anyway, yeah. I'm fine with Piazza and Pudge both being on the first ballot, as long as you are.
Yeah, no, I'm in for Pudge over Piazza any day.
Okay, well, I was going to put Piazza in there too. I mean, there's no reason we don't. No, all right. Well, then I need to put an X here so I don't put them in when I update the website, which I think you're going to be super impressed with. I just need to publish it tomorrow.
Is it like a website or something, or did you pay more money for it?
Oh no, I paid for the site, but like it's a site that I've had though.
Oh, okay.
Like I didn't pay for it just for the.
I was like, don't you dare tell me that you did that. Wow, Mauer hit 365 in his MVP year. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, he was a good player, but
he wasn't a power, like not power hitter,
no.
But boy, he just hit it all over the field.
Him and Posey are really comparable to me.
Mauer's got him beat by a good bit, I think. Just
Yeah, but Posey won games.
Posey did win games, both behind the
Yep.
plate and at the plate.
Yep. All right, let's move on to first base. You have Pujols, I have Gehrig. I think that's a pretty. I think both those guys are in.
Yep.
I don't. McCovey's not on my first ballot. If you want him in, we'll put him in, but he wouldn't.
No, I just put him there as just in case you did something crazy, but
no, put Ryan Howard in there or something.
Let me think of a good one here. Who's a good Dan Vogelbach? There you go, current guy.
You have no respect for me.
You look like what Dan Vogelbach would look like if he ate half as many cheeseburgers.
You look like a mouse. You know that?
Actually, rat.
Rat works too.
You look like a noodle, and you look like a goose. Continue.
Yeah. All right, second base. We're in agreement here. You have Robinson, I have Hornsby, and your backup is Hornsby, and my backup is Robinson. So, that's a good.
Impossible to argue with those two.
Third base is an interesting one because we both have three names. Our consensus is Mike Schmidt, obviously, as the best third baseman of all time. Mm-hmm. You have Boggs and Brett, and I have Eddie Matthews and Boggs. So,
but that was the thing. All four of those guys are Hall of Famers. There's no argument from either.
Yeah,
they're all first ballot. They're all incredible.
I'm okay with putting all of the guys listed under third base in the Hall of Fame with this first ballot.
Absolutely. Third base is underappreciated, man.
What's that?
Third base is underappreciated.
Yes, it is. The hot corner, as they say. At shortstop, you have Ripken and Banks. I have Ripken and Wagner was supposed to be up. Honus Wagner was supposed to be in front of Banks there. It was supposed to go Ripken, Honus Wagner, Banks. Yep. I think all three of those guys need to go in.
Yep.
Wagner and Hornsby are two guys that if you look at their numbers, they're just you can't fight about them. Yep. You went Bonds Williams, I went Williams Bonds. My whole thing is Williams is the greatest hitter of all time, and Bonds needed some help. So that's really where I'm at with that. They're both in.
Here's one thing I didn't bring this up on the podcast, but we texted about it the other day. And yes, we're going to talk about Barry Bonds tie. It was that, it was all about McGuire and Sosa, the home run chase, all that good stuff. And they're the ones getting all the recognition. They're the ones that saved baseball. They're getting calls from Clinton. And Bonds said, okay, you guys hit a lot of home runs, but I'm the best player. Let me show you what a real player does taking roids. Give me the attention that I so badly want.
And that's fine. I have no problem with that.
That's maybe a conspiracy theory, but
and if that's the way it is, if that was his reasoning, that's fine. That's
don't know if that was his. That's a theory.
Sure, I know. I'm just That's fine. I'm just
doesn't discount that he took him.
Right, but I mean, it also is just one more reason. I look at Ted Williams and the fact that he went to war twice.
Yep.
And what his numbers would be if he wouldn't have gone to war. Yep. Defensively, not nearly the player Bonds was. Base running, not nearly the player Bonds was, but
sure,
was just that great a hitter that he's far and away. I mean, it's just crazy. I've read just about every book about him. He was just a really interesting cat as well. So we're in agreement there.
Yeah, I completely agree. But just back to base running, quick little tidbit. Who doesn't get enough credit for their base running is Albert.
Yeah, that's true. He stole some bags in his day, and is he's just
he's just got the baseball IQ of just every great baseball player that ever lived.
It's crazy. He stole a base last year for the Dodgers, which was hilarious.
And he stole second base, sort of. He tagged up from first base to go to second base on Yasiel Puig, who had unfortunately one of the best arms in the game, and just caught him napping. The dude, he looks like he's about to die every time he runs to first base, and somehow he's tagging up on a fly ball from first.
He really did let himself go over the last couple of years. I was watching some video of him with the Dodgers last year, and I was like, holy crap.
It's painful.
Yeah.
It's painful, man.
All right, let's move to center field. You have Mays and Mantle. I have Mays and Cobb. So I'm fine with all four of them going in. Obviously, Mantle is a great player. Ty Cobb just has to be on the first ballot, in my opinion. He may have been a prick, but he was a good player.
Statistical.
Right field, you have Aaron and Clemente. I have Aaron and Ruth, which all four of those guys are in. Utility, I have A-Rod, DiMaggio, and Musial. I think all three of them should be in the first ballot. If we're not putting PEDs as a X out, you just can't argue that A-Rod was the best player in the league for a long time.
Yep.
He may be a tool of a guy.
But here's where this is where some of the writers were arguing over it, and it's like, do you put him in if they didn't actually have a test, like a positive test for it, if they got suspended for it, whatever? I don't know.
Right.
And I don't know how I feel about that. I put Ruth in utility just because pitcher hitter both.
I kind of figured that was the route you went. I just think the numbers so A-Rod, 696 career home runs, 3,115 hits, career 295 hitter, stole 329 bases, 2086 RBIs. Like, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves.
Yeah, you're almost going to get our argument.
He almost hit 700 home runs. I mean, I can't. And then I like your Musial and Ruth. I think they're, both guys that should go in. I even added Musial to my utility to just make you feel better.
Watch your mouth.
I also think that we cannot leave DiMaggio off the list. That would just be a sin. Hit streak, his overall numbers. I didn't think he was better than Mays or Cobb, but definitely needs to be there.
Yep.
Closers were the same. Rivera and Eck. Bruce Sutter almost made it for me. He kind of changed the way that position looked.
Agreed.
As well as a couple other guys. But I thought,
Fergie Jenkins.
Fergie Jenkins. Well, he won 300 games. He was a starter.
No. Lee Smith.
Lee Smith. Yep. I mean, there are other relievers, but I just thought those two are really the premier. Just like you did when you made yours. So, all right, I like it. So it'll be up on the website probably tomorrow at some point. I'll shoot you the link when it's published, and you can take a look. We'll put it up on the Twitter Twitter account, and see what we got. I've got the right Twitter on the on my bio here today.
I'm so proud of you.
I know. Sometimes you just gotta love yourself a little. Sometimes you just gotta tell yourself you're great.
I love you like Kanye loves Kanye.
Kanye does love himself some Kanye. All right. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, we're gonna skip high school coaching and jump to another major league topic, just so that we kind of stay in suit here, and then we'll go to the coaching thing. I work with a guy who is an analytics nut when it comes to baseball. And I told him, he was making the comment that it's made the game so much more complex. And I told him I disagree. I believe that analytics has turned the game from chess to checkers because it has made it so one-dimensional, and that it just doesn't I see so little creativity in the way the game is played at this point. It's all shifts, home runs, walks, and strikeouts. Pitchers coming out of the game after the second time through the lineup. I firmly believe the Tampa Bay Rays lost a World Series because of analytics and taking Blake Snell out after 73 pitches. His argument to me was he was terrible the third time through the lineup with some teams. Well,
so what?
That becomes a situation where it was like, how many times when he was going into his third time through the lineup was he already at 90 pitches? Like the analytics just don't tell the whole story, in my
They
opinion.
don't.
So, in your opinion, which is it? Is it checkers or chess with analytics?
It's turned it into checkers. I mean, it's like I appreciate what analytics has done for
Mhm.
stats and being able to, really see in depth and, how good is a player really, like those sort of things. But if you're talking about shifts and, you know, pulling guys early, like I love watching a pitcher's duel. You don't see a whole lot of those anymore though, because it's exactly what you said. Oh, let's pull him now and put in, six relievers, righty specialist, lefty specialist, you know, middle relief, and then here's your closer. It's like, well, what?
Yep.
I don't know.
I feel like there's just this opportunity for, this is not the right term for it, but reverse Moneyball, right? For a team to invest in a different style of play and be really successful with it.
That's exclusively how the Giants won their World Series. Do you think they were the best team on paper in any of those years? Absolutely not. 2012 was the only year that they were they weren't even the favorite team in the World Series. I mean, Tigers were supposed to eat them for lunch, literally,
Mhm.
and they swept them. Like they're, you know, I just feel like you get a good chemistry and guys that just want to play ball, you got a better shot than, oh, let's grab 10 Joey Gallos. I don't
I'm just
hate Joey Gallo here, but home
right.
run or strikeout just sucks.
It's just not fun to watch.
No,
If you were getting ready to start a playoff series, did we talk about this last week? I'm trying to remember. I killed way too many brain cells on Friday night.
I don't
Um,
remember either. Continue.
so if you were about to start a playoff series, a 5-game series, okay, and we'll just take two random teams. We'll say the Phillies and the Braves, just because I know the lineup, right? And in the first inning of the game, the Braves are shifting all four of the first hitters, right? Like,
Mhm.
you know, you're gonna have, depends on who the Philly, like we'll just use last year's lineup. So McCutcheon was leading off at the beginning of the year, and then you had, and I guess I don't remember the lineups anymore. That's terrible. But if you went up in the first four hitters and they shifted all four and you bunted in all four of those at bats, okay, now we'll say 3 out of the 4 reach, because we've worked on this. Like, this is a plan that we've come up with that we're going to do. We've worked on it. 3 out of the 4 reach. One of them's going to score when Hoskins bunts with runners on second and third, because if 3 of the 4 got on, right, like a run score. So you're up 1-0 from 4 bunts. Okay. What does that do to the defense the rest of the game? You have to play straight.
You do.
You can't, like, it is that simple to break it, right? Like, I can't believe that a team, even if you don't get a single runner on base with those 4, it has now put the thought in their head that they're going to try and beat the shift all day, right? And you're going to have to change the way you play. It adds just a little bit of chess. Now, I know, God, do I know how many people hate hearing theories like this, because I had so many parents that would get so irritated with the thought of us bunting because their kids were so good. So good.
Oh, just the future Barry Bonds.
Yeah. And the fact of the matter was, if we could have gotten bunts down in certain situations, even without the shift, we would have been a really successful team. And we already were. Like, I mean, we won a lot of games. So it wasn't like we were bad, but just the situational part of baseball is dead. And it's sad, because it's really, it's going to end up hurting the game down the road, because you're going to get to a point where a guy is going to strike out 300 plus times in a season.
I'm not excited for that day.
And when that happens, but he still hits 25 or 30 home runs and gets a payday, I can't watch that baseball.
No, that's not fun.
So Tom, I'm curious, like what could change? What could change this? What has to happen?
I don't know, and I don't know where it starts. I mean, part of me, this is probably going to set you off here a little bit, and I kind of want to hear what you have to say more in depth because we kind of touched on it last time. This launch angle swing and teaching this to 8-year-olds, like that's part of it, and telling every kid that it's a one size fits all. There's no more like, oh, I'm going to put it in play and be on first base by the time your, shortstop gets to the ball in the hole.
Right.
I think that's part of where it starts. And I don't know. We had notes on people in college and whatnot. And the only time we'd ever really shift is if we knew for sure, and this was incredibly rare. I don't know if we even ever really did shift in game, but if there's a dude that you just know can't go the other way.
Right.
And even then it'd just be like, take 5 steps down towards the other line, and there you go.
The launch angle thing, it's always been there. Ted Williams preached launch angle. He just didn't call it that. The problem that we're seeing today is that we're taking it to an extreme, and we're teaching a cookie cutter version of it instead of the actual way it should be taught. So, I mean, the ball's coming down on a downward plane, right? You need to meet it coming up. If you meet it coming down, you're gonna have some trouble with it. And I don't mean that we're talking like coming up like this, right? The swing's generally gonna have a little bit of an arc to it. Oh, all right, teacher man. Do you know who I'm talking about?
That guy is a dick. I cannot believe people actually pay him.
It is.
People pay him American dollars, Ty. Real American currency. He's getting paid to teach that.
Doesn't it make you just so angry and make you feel like you should be able to make money coaching baseball?
There are so many things that make me wonder with things that people get paid to do that they know nothing about. It's just crazy talk to me. That's just a perfect example of I don't even know what is a perfect example of. It's crazy. It's crazy that is taught and believed and listened to.
Well, the other things that are just so obnoxious right now are teaching a kid that's like a high school kid, right? We'll say between 9th and 12th grade. The high school kid who's 6'4", 230 pounds and plays first base is getting taught a swing that he can be productive with. The 5'4", 107-pound second baseman that has a really good glove is being taught the same swing. And that's just not gonna work. Like, it's not. Now, said second baseman hits the weight room really hard and gets some strength and gets to use an aluminum bat, a BB core bat. Okay, maybe he lifts the ball out of a couple of crappy high school parks. He's not going to do it at the college level, and he's not going to do it with a wooden bat. Like, these just fantasies of these poor kids that are spending thousands of dollars. I mean, thousands of dollars on hitting instruction, and the instruction is just cookie cutter. It's lazy is what it is. I mean, that's the best way I know to put it, is that it's just lazy instruction. Damn it. I'm trying to send a picture and put it up on the I'm going to put it up on the cast right now. There it is. Sweet.
By the way, shout out Wilson Valdez.
Oh, yeah?
That's the guy on the screen, ain't it? Hold on.
Where?
Wilson Valdez. It's the guy on the video board.
Video board. Oh. Sorry, I wasn't even looking at the
on the
screen.
Jumbotron. Sorry.
Yeah, I got you now. I got you now. I'm trying to share something.
By the way, I found this bet at Goodwill. It's a 1996 All-Star Game mini bet.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right?
This is ticking me off. I should be able to share this easily, but I can't.
All right.
There's this great.
Just, are you talking about launch angle wise?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know. I'm going to demonstrate with the mini bet here. It's simple science. You pitches down, you don't that. You're going to have to go down and get it.
Yep.
Pitches up, you don't that. Right. I'm not saying necessarily your eyes. I swung at every pitch at my eyes, but that would be here, not here. That. I don't know. Yep. It's pretty simple. At least to me, it seems very simple.
Well, it is. It's this. The problem is everybody wants to pay for home runs. They don't want to pay for actual instruction. And that's where it gets frustrating, right? Like, because I was a pretty good player for a long time, and I hit 3 balls out of a ballpark in my entire life. That's just the way it goes. So, there, got it.
I don't know. For me,
Can you see this screen that just came up?
Yeah, Kutch, Noma, Albert. Is that Mike Sweeney? Shout out Mike Sweeney. Maglio Ordonez. There's a forgotten monster of a human being.
Right, but look at that position that they're in right there. They're all in the same position pretty much, right? Like if you took their names away and made them silhouettes, they're almost all in the same position.
Shout out Kevin Kuzminoff.
What's that?
Shout out Kevin Kuzminoff.
All right. They're all going to you have to get into similar positions to be a good hitter. And right here, they're all in the same position and they're all going to transition the same way. Their hands are not going to drop below their belt. They are. Their hands will drop below their belt, but it's not going to get like this swooping uppercut. You know what I mean? And that's what the kids think they're being taught. I mean, I watched a kid hit where this back leg, they collapse and their head falls back over their back half.
Are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to be consistent hitting the baseball that way. I firmly believe that you have to. I firmly believe that you do have to meet the ball coming up, right? I don't think that we want guys swinging down. I don't mean it that way, but it's just become too drastic.
It has. Absolutely. I agree. But I went to see Jock Peterson's dad, Stu, for a little bit, and he was teaching the launch angle thing, swing up. And, it wasn't necessarily like you're just here every time, but
right.
I don't know. I guess it changed something in my mind for me because I had my best year junior year. Mm-hmm. And I actually started hitting balls, hard the other way and, started to hit for a little bit of power. It was like, oh, shit.
I think the problem I have with the way they're teaching launch angle is that it's all back leg. And hitting's not back leg, it's balance. Right?
That's teacher man. Just spin off your back leg and throw your hands at it.
Well, he's just an idiot. The fact that so Aaron Judge is the only major league player I think he has that actually has been any type of success, and the guy is just a joke.
Did he actually work with Aaron Judge?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh.
Yep. It's the only player he has. But every coach is going to have a guy, if they're good enough, if they have any idea that you can kind of fit into your mold, right? But yeah, it's such a tough situation because I believe that every hitter is different, right? And to teach the same swing to 100 kids is just so irresponsible.
Everybody's got to get in the same position. But if you look at, some of the best hitters of all time, I don't know.
I don't know.
So they all get to the same positions, but they don't all start that way.
Rod Carew never plays baseball in today's world.
No.
You ever seen Rod Carew swing?
Yep.
I mean, he's one of the best hitters to ever play the game.
Just pure hitter wise, yeah.
Tony Gwynn. I mean, there's a guy right there. I stand by that. I believe he is one of the best hitters to ever play. And
I don't think anybody's going to argue there.
Yeah, but people argue against the way he hit. Nobody wants to teach anybody to hit that way. I mean, 394 one year. I'm okay learning to hit that way.
I'll take that. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think that's what frustrates me so much is that everybody's got to do it one way now. And that's, you know, you have to get into similar positions in your swing to be successful. But, you know, there's also like slap base hits are not the end of the world. They're still base hits. But
finding a way to get on base.
What's that?
Finding a way to get on base.
Yep. Well, I mean, if you're going to talk analytics, you need on base percentage, right? And walks, whatever you can do to get on. Anyway, before I get too flustered,
you want to talk about your feelings, Ty? I think we should take about a 5-minute break and just talk about
nobody
feelings.
wants to hear about my feelings.
That's a shame.
Let's talk some high school baseball. So yeah. I don't know much about your high school experience. I'm curious. Like, were you guys a successful high school program? Did you, I'm just curious, from a player standpoint, you're not at that point yet where you've had to coach or, been put in that opportunity. My baseball background at this point, I was a player, but I now consider myself well past player and into coach phase in my life, 11 years of high school and 7 as a head, coach of a program. What was your high school experience like?
Well, I mean, I loved high school ball. I don't think I really knew how great it was. I always loved it, but I didn't realize how great it was until I didn't have it anymore, of course. Yep. We were a good program. So our varsity coach my freshman year was Donnie Ecker, who actually was the Giants assistant hitting coach last year, one of 2. Now with the Rangers. Just a good dude, but his style of coaching and whatnot was definitely much more major league based, like college or major league. Like that's where he belonged because, I mean, he taught a lot, but you're not going to teach a bunch of freshmen that don't give a shit and they're never going to make it anywhere. What are they going to learn from a guy like that?
Right.
It doesn't always work out that way. Some guys are suited for certain levels, and that's where he needs to be. And obviously 107 wins kind of speak for themselves, revitalizing Longo and Brandon Crawford. Buster Posey had a great comeback year, and all of them talked about Donnie. But, CCS-wise, that was Central Coast section. That was our playoffs. We didn't have state, anything like that. But CCS was the big one.
That's interesting. You guys didn't have state playoffs?
Well, that was our state.
Okay.
Yeah, that was sort of our thing where all the schools up and down California would go. And we lost in the first or second round freshman year, lost in the first round sophomore year, junior year. I think we won first one, lost second one, so made it to the second round. Great. Now my senior year, we had a really good team. We had a bunch of younger guys, freshmen and sophomores that stepped up pretty big, and some dudes. One guy actually pitches at Santa Clara University now. He's a heck of a pitcher, nicest dude in the world. But we made it all the way to the finals for CCS, and we weren't the best team on paper. I will say that. Like there were some teams that we ran into that probably should have been better than we were, but we liked each other a lot. Everybody got along, and we were all playing to win and playing as a team. So made it to the championship and then got absolutely just destroyed in the finals. I think we lost like 9-1 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got our butts kicked pretty good, but that was the number 1 seed. Nobody really expected us to get there. But the number 1 seed showed up and that was awesome. Awesome experience though.
I think what you talked about, realizing that how great high school baseball was after you were done with it, is something that I tried to preach to my players from the time I started coaching at the JV level till the time I was running a program. Um, I mean, all the guys I talk to, that have moved on and played college ball or adult ball, or even, some guys who have had the opportunity to play pro ball, always point back to high school as something that they missed and that they cherished, and they wished that they had realized it more. And I think sometimes you can find a coach that can get that through to kids. I hope I got it through to a couple that, after high school, it all changes. I mean, once you go and play college ball, that's your job. You're going to wake up in the morning, you're going to go to class. Well, you're probably going to go to morning workout first, and then you're going to go to class, and then you're going to go to team study hall, and then you're going to eat, you're going to do homework, and then you're going to go to practice, then you're probably going to lift, and then you're going to come back and you're going to do more homework. And I mean, that's literally your job. Like that's what you're going to do, especially if you're playing competitive college baseball.
Eat, sleep, breathe baseball.
Yep. And at the high school level, it's the last time that you're playing with guys that you might have grown up with, that you've been together with for a long time. And you just don't appreciate that until that's over sometimes. No. And that's a shame. I wish there's a way that, we could express that to high school players, really take it in. I had one team that I think knew that. And it's the most talented team I ever had, hands down. And it was in 2017. And we made it to the state semifinals and lost. We had a really senior-laden team. And their emotion after the loss in the semis was a telltale of how much that team meant to them. I still look back at that year and think I could have done a couple things differently that would have gotten us over the hump. But that's hindsight. In the next season, with one main player coming back and a couple other guys that were on that team coming back, we won a state title, and that team was not as talented as the 17 team. They were a great team, but not as talented top to bottom. So like you said, it just tells you the most talented team isn't always the team that, goes the furthest. It's sometimes it has to do with other factors. And, coaching is just something that I'm really going to miss this year, but I am excited to go watch high school baseball, right? Get out and watch other teams play, and watch some of these coaches that I've coached against, and see some of these players that I've coached against, and enjoy seeing the game from a different perspective this year. But one thing I know for certain is that nothing's like high school baseball. There's just nothing like it in the world. And college is fun. I never got paid to play the game, so I don't know what pro ball is like, but college is fun, but nothing's like high school baseball.
No, I remember. I'm still, some of my best buddies in the entire planet are high school buddies that I played ball with.
Yep.
Maybe we were friends because of ball, but just happened to love the same thing. So that was really neat.
Yep. All right. So anything else you want to touch on here before we sign off of episode 2?
Oh, there was something I was thinking about, but I can't remember now. What do you have as the schedule for today?
Oh, we hit it all. Baseball, checkers, or chess now, and then our Hall of Fame, and then basically high school coaching, some just little high school stuff.
Oh, there is one thing I want to touch on. So, I will say this: the guy that took over, because Donnie left after my freshman year, guy that took over was a history teacher at Los Altos High School, and my sophomore year, I got called up the whole year to varsity.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you're gonna be up with us. Boy, oh boy! I mean, even some of my teammates, a lot of my teammates were like, "He is hard on you." Just he would just be like, "That was just horrible." He would just pretty much come after me, and it felt like he just came after me and nobody else. And he later was like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." He's like, "I thought it would motivate you to be better." I said, "No, I'm not going to say his name, but I was like, boy, you were just an asshole. And I think that part of it, yeah, he probably took it a little too far a couple times, but I really wanted to do better. I did. He's like, I only did that because I thought you could handle it. And I was like, well, I appreciate that you thought I could handle it, but also sometimes I definitely played scared because it was like, boy, you're kind of a prick. Um,
Yep.
and I really didn't like him my sophomore year, but my junior year left me alone. Senior year left me alone. I played a lot better. And he was like, I was hard on you because I wanted you to be, kind of a leader going forward and be one of our guys. And I said, I appreciate that, but I think there's a certain way to go about it. I didn't always agree with it, but kind of worked out in the end.
I was probably more intense than some of the players were used to. That's what I came from. Like my high school coach, it wasn't that my high school coach wasn't our buddy. He was our coach, and it was a respect thing. I always tried really hard. The guys that I gave a hard time to, like joked with or like might have been like ragging on a little bit, would always try and make it very clear to them at one point or another when it was just me and that player, and say something like, hey, I do this because you're a good player and I think you can take it. If you ever can't, come and talk to me. And that's usually with joking around, not necessarily being hard on guys with their play. I like to think I was as hard on everybody with their play. If they weren't, living up, they knew it. If they were living up, they knew it. But as far as, ragging on players, there's always a couple players that you can use to help lighten the mood at their expense. And I would always talk to those guys and be like, hey, like, I know I was ragging on you pretty good there. Like, you okay? And, they'd usually, yeah, coach, I get it. No big deal. Specifically last year, our catcher, who was the quarterback of the football team too, great kid, really good athlete. I'd rag on him pretty hard, just always give him a hard time. But I knew that wasn't going to change the way he played the game, right? Like he wasn't going to clam up. He was used to that. He understood that. And I wouldn't sit in the bench and be like, you're terrible, you're awful. Like that's
actually is kind of how he would be sometimes, like actually. And that was when I was like, all right, that's too far. Like
I would pull a kid aside and say, hey man, you're really bad today. Like you need to figure it out. Like what's going on, but I tried really hard not to, and I'm not going to say I never did. I'm sure over, I won 101 games in 6 years and, I think lost 30 some, so 130 some games. I'm sure that my emotions got the better of me as a coach from time to time. I'm as competitive as anybody you're ever going to meet. So there were times I'm sure that,
I know.
Yeah. What? You've seen me be competitive before?
Time or two.
Just wait. You haven't even gotten there yet.
Oh, don't you? Yeah. You haven't seen my real competitive side either. I've toned it down from previously. I used to be able to really step it up, but it's kind of as I get older, it's like, all right, yeah.
I'm not near as bad on the golf course as I was in the coach's box. On the golf course, I want to play well and I want to win, but baseball's a different thing. I've always had a little bit of edge when it comes to baseball. So
same here. Even in like the softball games, the fast pitch games we play, it's like, oh man.
Oh, did you hear that?
Do we need to end the podcast so you can go change your undies?
No, we need to end the podcast so I can go to bed. It's 24 minutes past my bedtime.
You're so old.
I do this podcast on Mondays past my bedtime because I want to talk baseball with you, Matt.
Well, I appreciate that. Did you get your oatmeal for dinner?
What's that?
Did you get your oatmeal for dinner?
No, actually, you know what we did for dinner tonight?
Mushy peas?
No, Emily started getting HelloFresh.
Dude, does that end the podcast and then we'll talk about this for like 5 minutes.
Okay, well, all right. So follow us at By the Book Baseball or on Twitter at bythebookbaseb1 or at tybook3. Matt's on Twitter too, but he doesn't put it in his tag. I don't know why.
Hey, now that we're doing this, absolutely.
All right. And check out the website tomorrow afternoon sometime. It is bythebookbaseball.com. The new Hall of Fame first ballot will be up, and we will also have some other information up there if you want to get in touch or give us podcast ideas. We'll also start adding some guests coming up, and we'll just keep talking baseball. I'm excited to see if this lockout gets resolved so we can talk about some real baseball, like current baseball. If it doesn't, though, I'm all about talking about some college baseball, too. I love college baseball. It's actually a ton of fun to watch.
You want to talk about intensity? That's about as intense as it can get.
There is Coach Augie from Texas is
Augie Garrido.
Oh yeah, he's my spirit animal. So, all right, for Matt, I'm Ty. This has been By the Book Baseball, episode 2. We will see you next week, Monday, around 8:30. Have a great evening. Oh, he went spot.